The community of Moscow, Idaho experienced a measure of relief on Friday amid the news that Bryan Kohberger, 28 years old, was arrested and charged in the homicides of Inan, Xana, Kaylee, and Maddie.
Reporter Room with
Welcome,
Jessica
Reporter Room
Della
investigators.
Davies.
My name is
starts
Jessica Della Davies.
now.
I'm an investigative journalist, and we have a lot to get into in this case. So let's get started. We're going to discuss whether or not Bryan had an accomplice, DNA evidence, Bryan's extradition hearing, the photos purporting to show Bryan at Kaylee's prayer vigil, that bizarre video that purports to be Bryan talking circulating on social media, and I've enhanced the photographs from the prayer vigil for you guys. And we're going to talk about a series of weird Reddit posts. Was Bryan interacting with us on Reddit? We have a lot to discuss, so let's get started. Bryan Christopher Kohberger made his appearance today in court. He arrived wearing a red jumpsuit, shackled at the wrist and ankles. His mother and sister were there, and his mother was reportedly crying while his sister comforted her. They are said to be shocked. Bryan will be extradited back to Idaho, and once this happens, he will be served with charging documents. Then, these documents will be released to us. Bryan reportedly returned back to his classes following what he allegedly did to Inan, Xana, Kaylee, and Maddie. Did he have any type of injuries on his hands, his face, or his neck that his classmates noticed? He was also reportedly studying DNA 2 weeks before being arrested, and law enforcement has entered his DNA profile into CODIS. Will this produce any other hits on any other crimes? Has he done this before? There's also been a lot of talk whether or not Bryan had an accomplice, and I'm going to talk about the prayer vigil. I've enhanced photos for your review and consideration. And we're going to talk about these series of bizarre Reddit posts in just a second, because if Bryan is interacting with us on social media, this is the stuff of nightmares. We're going to go through all of this in just a moment, so please stay with me. So law enforcement is saying that there was not an accomplice in this case. They believe that Bryan acted alone. And I'm going to share the Reddit posts and the bizarre recordings and the enhanced photos of what purports to be Bryan at the prayer vigil in just a second, so please stay with me. Everything I'm sharing with you is my opinion, and opinions are not facts, so please don't send any negativity to anyone, anytime, anywhere. Let's be kind to each other. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss a new video or a new upload, and give this video a thumbs up so I know you were here. Now, let's look at the Reddit post. Was this Bryan in the Reddit chats, literally interacting with us in our own chat rooms? So in this, you can see that he claims to know the order of what happened, but he says that whoever did this one in the kitchen, then Inan and Xana, and then Maddie and Kaylee's room. So he says that this is the order, and law enforcement would know whether this is true or not. And then in the next post, there's a discussion about what happened. Then there's a couple more posts where he seems to know how the person did it. He says that nothing happened at Sigma Chi, and when he's asked by the moderator, do you know that for sure? Or says the moderator says, you don't know that for sure. He says, yes, I do. There's a question that maybe it isn't one person. How could one person overpower all 4 people? And this guy very confidently responds, single blade killed all 4. Another speculation, I wonder if the knife could still be inside the home, and this person responds that they took it with them. End of story. And then it's asked, one person with 2 knives, and the response is single blade killed all 4. And then somebody else posts 2 killers, 1 knife, and then this guy responds with 1 killer, 1 knife. Was he interacting with us in the chat rooms? Because the last time this particular account posted was the night before Bryan was arrested. And now the posts are down, so I don't know what to think. We historically know that SK type of personalities often like to insert themselves back into their own crimes. They like to attend memorial services and prayer vigils. Think about Jodi Arias. She attended Travis's memorial service. They like to relive the crime, and they get off on confounding law enforcement. So law enforcement asked us to help find the Hyundai Elantra on December the 7th, and in my opinion, they may have already had Bryan as their suspect at this time. And I've always shared with you that I thought law enforcement did have a suspect and that this case would be solved. So I'm going to play the recording that purports to be Bryan, and I'm not saying it is him or it's not him, but one of his friends thought it sounded an awful lot like him. And I'm going to play this for you in just a second, but I want to look at these prayer vigil photographs. So here's some enhanced photos for your consideration. What do you think? Is this Bryan, or is this just someone who has a similar physique? Because I'm not convinced that this is Bryan. In my opinion, the hairline looks different, but on the other hand, the ears look very similar. So I'm not really sure. What do you think? In the video that I released on New Year's Eve, I talked about this bizarre study that Bryan was doing where he was literally asking people questions. It was almost like he wanted to know how people feel, and he was trying to live vicariously through them. He asked them questions like, quote, before making your move, how did you approach the victim or target? After committing the crime, what were you thinking and feeling? So it's being also reported on social media that one of the ways Bryan tried to hide the fact that he used his own vehicle was that when he returned to Pennsylvania, he changed his tags. Here are the receipts on that. So it does look like Bryan changed his plates and registered his car in a different state just 5 days after what happened to Ethan, Xana, Maddie, and Kaylee. What do you think? So let's listen to this recording and let me know what you think in the comments section below.
Hey there, to those of you interested in hearing this report, I just want to let you know that I'm a relative of someone inside the investigation into the quadruple homicide in Idaho. I don't want to be any more specific than that because I don't want to put anybody in a challenging or contentious situation regarding their continued employment. And I will say what I'm about to tell you is secondhand, but it is from what I believe to be a very reliable source. Again, this can only be considered a rumor as I don't have firsthand knowledge. I never planned on posting any of this information out of respect for the victims' families. However, now that one of the victims' fathers has released some of the gruesome details himself, I'd like to share some of the investigative theory. As you know, the two women were found in the same bed, but with similar wounds. That's what's being reported. That's not exactly 100% true, at least in regard to the fact that they hadn't fallen asleep in the same bed. One of the victim's wounds were deep gouges that were delivered with extremely aggressive force, so much so that the victim's liver and lungs were destroyed. Here's the theory that's happening. They definitely think it was a man because of the force of the wounds. The person must have been very strong. They think the man came into the room after doing what they did on the second floor. They went upstairs. The person cleanly and quietly unalived the first victim. The second victim awoke and tried to run. They believe that the man possibly grabbed her, and she screamed loudly, apparently. The man then harmed her, and the reason the wounds were of such force, he was delivering it quickly and forcibly to quiet her, which I apologize for how I know it's disturbing, but anyway, how do we know that she screamed? Because 3 individuals reported hearing a scream between 3:45 and 4 o'clock. That's why the police have such a specific time frame as to when the murders occurred, because I don't know if you noticed, but the authorities weren't called the next day until late in the morning, yet they had a very specific time frame when the murder happened. They think the scream is why. And after reviewing video files from the neighborhood, they reviewed security cameras in the area, and they have an audio file I haven't heard it, but I was told that you can clearly hear a loud scream from a female. That scream was recorded at exactly 3:38 a.m. Neighbors say they didn't call the police because they said there's often loud noise coming from the house. I was told that there are parties there all the time. Again, I don't know if that's true, but it's what I was told. The weapon used was a long serrated-edged hunting knife with a fixed blade. The weapon had not been in the house. The person brought it with them and took it when they left. The two victims were on the same bed, not side by side. One victim was found on top of the other. The reason is that the one tried to escape and was grabbed, harmed, and then shoved and fell on top of her friend. That is why there's a lot of blood mixtures on this at the scene. They're also desperately looking for this white car. The reason being is that it was seen speeding by an A&W gas station. I don't even know what that is, but anyway, it could be wrong. I was just told it was seen speeding by an A&W gas station / hangout at 3:45. Now, if the scream was recorded at 3:38 and the car sped by at 3:45, it's a very tight time frame, but it is possible that the person left immediately and rushed and was seen speeding by. Also, the scream may have been what caused the person to quickly leave. That scream could have been what saved the other two roommates' lives. The person knew that they might be detected, so they sped away. Again, this is all just rumor. Take it for what it is. I just pray for these young people. I hope they rest in peace and that their families can find peace after this horrible crime, and I hope that the person who committed it can be brought to justice. Thanks a lot.
Subscribe.